entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last March meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. I do have a second. Mrs. Thompson. Were there any corrections? Would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel. Mrs. Gatsman.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. You're going to be very good friends by the time you're done. So it's such a cozy meeting. And there are some seats up front, 3 or 4. So thank you for coming this evening. And the only thing I'd like to share is in mail today, we belong to the House School Board Association, and we received some information today, and they are working with 18 different agencies on safety, school safety, and will keep us informed of all that they learn. So OSBA is taking part in a collaborative effort involving a multitude of educational groups and mental health and law enforcement agencies to address issues surrounding safety and security in Ohio schools. So that's on our forefront. That's one of our highest priorities, and they're going to help us with a free event designed for teams and district staff to learn and share what they're doing in schools. So there'll be a lot of collaboration, a lot of sharing of good ideas, and for us to help make our schools even safer. So I'm glad to do that today. And Mr. Thompson, would you like to welcome them?
We welcome you and looking forward to presentations tonight. And one thing I think we've learned here recently is if we want to fill up a board meeting, move it to a smaller venue. But welcome.
Good.
Welcome to everybody again. I would just like to commend the high school staff and students that participated in the recent fundraiser. It was a great cause, and from what I heard, over $4,000, am I right, Mr. Camilla?
Yep.
Was raised to help a family that's kind of struggling right now. So it's exciting to see that the students really came out in droves, and it was a great, fun, family atmosphere for everyone. So we do it again. It's a good time.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to welcome everyone, the Girl Scouts and East Elementary, and government students. How many government students? Stand if you're a government student. Thank you for coming. And I am wondering how much credit you get by participating.
We don't pass 20 points. Government if we don't do
20 points. So I'm sure there are more to come next month.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing them.
Thank you, Mr. Goulet.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. It is heartening to know that our public schools are teaching government, civics, and participating in our democracy. You are the future, and parents, thank you so much for giving them the tools with which to make these decisions on their futures. And believe it or not, even though sometimes these meetings are a little dry, then that's being very, very kind. They may be a little bit dry, but there is important work to be done, not just for our schools, but for our country. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll get to our meeting, commendations and some papers.
Well, I too would like to welcome you to our board meeting. It is ironic, what Mr. Thompson said. We've had greater crowds in the last 3 months, and we've had a lot of that, of course, is our government requirement for you to come to a board meeting, which I think is an awesome thing. We have a number of things going on tonight, and you'll see the board agenda is up on the screen, and we'll kind of work our way down through that. At the beginning of our meeting tends to be some of the reports and different things that we share out with the community, and then you'll see us get down to more of the boilerplate kind of items in a typical agenda. Tonight we are recognizing one of our buildings. We have 8 buildings, 8 school buildings here in Mount Vernon City Schools. And each month we represent one of our buildings, and it's kind of a highlight. One of the things we do is we recognize those very special people, those volunteers in our buildings, and East Elementary has a behind-the-scenes person tonight to recognize. And Carly, I don't know if Marilyn was able to make it, but you want to maybe...
Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah, why don't you say something about her now?
Yeah, absolutely. So our behind-the-scenes person is Marilyn Nagy, and it goes along with our building report that we'll be talking about here in just a couple minutes. Marilyn Nagy is our after-school program director, and when we were trying to get this going, working with United Way closely, Dr. Brown told me, if you can get Marilyn Nagy on board, you'll be all set. And so it took a little bit to talk her into it, but she agreed, and I cannot tell you how valuable she is to the program. Jenny Marilees and Casey Melton are the teachers there, and I'm sure that they would agree with me that she's just priceless. So some of her responsibilities are to manage and facilitate all of the activities. She employs and supervises the project staff. She implements the different programs, and then she submits required reports and information back to United Way so that we can keep going. She makes sure that the kids are really enjoying what they're doing through fun things like Taco Thursday, Zumba, game night, and then making sure that we have enough volunteers to help with the study portion of it too, to help, make sure that kids are getting homework done, those kinds of things. So I am really excited to honor Marilyn with our behind the scenes award.
Well, if you could tell Marilyn thank you on our behalf, because we greatly appreciate volunteers. We do have something that we kind of give a little to our behind-the-scenes person, so if you wouldn't mind sharing that with her. Yeah, even though she's not here, if we could give Marilyn this kind of thank you. So the next thing on our agenda I thought was a joke when I first got this. Somebody said, hey, we'd like to bring over 100 boxes of cookies. I was like, whoa! But no, after getting a chance to talk with Christy and kind of know what the Girl Scout troop 2798 was doing, we thought what a wonderful opportunity to bring them here with the board and kind of share what our Girl Scouts are doing. They seem to represent about 4 different buildings we heard out there, I believe. And Christy, maybe share with us what, why they're here tonight, what they did.
Yeah, so you want to tell them what we did? Each year I give the girls a chance to pick where they want their donated cookies to go to. So when we sell cookies up at Walmart and at different booths, we ask the community, hey, would you like to donate an extra box of cookies, or would you like to donate a few dollars? And then we collect all those cookies and they decide where they want them to go. So one of you girls want to tell them about it? Who'd you decide to donate cookies to this year?
The teachers.
And why did you want to give them to teachers?
To thank them for helping us learn and helping us grow.
Yeah. And how many cookies did you guys collect this year?
Over 100.
109 boxes of cookies. Direct donations from the community as well as their own troop money go in to buy extra cookies. So.
That is awfully nice of you all, and I know our teachers will be incredibly thankful. I just wanted to make sure they were the real thing, so I got my own box.
Sure.
But I'll check them out here in a second. I thought it might be kind of interesting. We have a great board here, and they're just always want to interact with kids. And I knew that 2 board members would raise their hands for a special challenge. And so, do I have 2 board members who are willing to raise their hand for a special little challenge? Okay, I got one.
It's that or the girls will pick one.
All right, as a former brownie, I'll do it.
So I need my 2 board members to come out in front here. And I have 4 young ladies that say they want to take on 2 board members. All right, so let me put 2 of you girls right here and the other 2 over here. I think they were the ones I've already talked to. All right. Okay. Now, here's what we decided to do. Have you ever seen the cookie challenge?
Yes. I did it with vanilla wafer.
So you take the cookie and you put it on your head, and you've got to try to wiggle it down, and you've got to get it into your mouth. All right? And so have you ever seen this?
No.
Let's work on this together. Go like this. There, that's way down, yeah. Okay. All right, so here we go. Here's your cookie. I'll let you pick your cookie. Here you go.
Dry, that's for sure.
All right. Now, will the Girl Scouts, will they wiggle it down to their mouth first? Oh, you've already started. You got to wait till I say go. Put it right on your forehead. Tip your head back.
Smell good.
All right, on your mark, get set, go! Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Oh, good. Pick it back up. You can hear it. There you go.
Oh, it's on my eyeball.
Okay, we got one. We got two.
She got her tongue out there.
It's a good thing our board meetings don't go as long as it's going to take those board members to get All right, let's give them a nice one here. All right, so that we're good sports, we'll give each one of the other board members a cookie. Did you get to eat yours, or did you?
No, it was on the floor.
Okay, well, we'll
Once was okay.
again, girls, on behalf of the Board of Education and more importantly our teachers, thank you so much for you thinking of us. And I know that the teachers of the schools where you're going to take those 100 boxes are going to be absolutely thrilled. So
I already took 4.
you already took one. Let's give our as I told you in the hallway, if you want to sneak your way out of here, it's a great time to do that.
I have a question. Okay, in your troop, 2798, who sold the most cookies and how many boxes? Oh, how many boxes did you sell?
How much did I sell? 1,000.
What?
And
476.
no, I sold 1,000. You say?
400 is more than 1,000.
It felt like 1,000.
It
Wow.
was 1,000. It was 1,000.
All right, thank you again, ladies. We appreciate it.
Girls Club is great. Thank you. Great job. Bye. Thank you. Good work. Thank you.
Hey, we got a few extra chairs up here, gang. Join us. All right. So the next thing up on our reports of public participation, we are highlighting East Elementary School. And so Carly, I think you brought a couple teachers with you, maybe to share with us a little bit of what's been going on at East.
This is Adriana, and Adriana attends Eagle's Nest. First, I'll go. So we're so excited at East Elementary to offer an after-school program, and we've called it Eagle's Nest. At East, our mascot is the eagle. This academic-based program provides extra help to students who qualify to participate based on some standardized test scores. Currently, we serve about 30 to 35 children 4 days a week, and they receive 45 minutes of academic support from a certified teacher and volunteers. And our volunteers are the core of our success here at Eagle's Nest. We have students from Mount Vernon High School, we have students from the middle school, we've got students from Mount Vernon Nazarene and Kenyon College who volunteer to work with these small groups and give them individual support. Many of our students don't have the privilege to be involved in dance or music lessons or club sports, and so the purpose of the Eagle's Nest is to give them a sense of belonging to a club. And this need is met in the second 45 minutes of the program. They get to go down to the gym and participate in a fun learning activity like yoga or Zumba from certified instructors. We've also brought together many organizations under United Way to provide different experiences. We've got STEM activities from the 4-H Extension Services. We've got Healthy Living from OSU Extension Office. The Knox County Health Department has come in. Also, the Knox County Community Hospital Department of Dietetics have also frequently presented fun and timely topics. Part of identifying with a group is having a t-shirt, which Miss Adriana is sporting for us today. And these were generously provided by the Knox County Community Hospital. We love our volunteers, and if you would like to help do homework with kids or play games with kids, please contact myself, Jenny Merrilees, Casey Melton, Holly Frackman is here, or Marilyn Nagy if you'd like to get involved. We still have several weeks left of Eagle's Nest, so we would love to have you. Adriana, would you like to share?
I'd like to tell you about East School's Eagle's Nest. Each day I get help with my homework. It has made me a better reader and more confident in 4th grade. Every day I eat a yummy snack while I do my homework. Every day we have a different fun activity. I love these fun activities. On game day, these are my favorite games. I've learned to play Uno, Woodmake, and Crazy Eights. When I don't know a game, a community member will play with me. Ms. Reese from the Ohio State Extension Service brings us STEAM activities. My favorite was bubble science. We made bubble snakes and bubble cubes. Did you know you can poke a straw in a bubble and it won't pop? But my favorite activity is Zumba. Miss Martin teaches us moves and dances. She picks very cool music. My ELA map score has improved by 12 points since the beginning of the school year. And I met my growth goal. My reading level has also gone up 3 levels too. East School is lucky to have the Eagle's Nest.
We also have a short video to kind of show some other fun things that we do at Eagle's Nest.
Part of Eagle's Nest is Zumba. I like the motions and the music. Eagle's Nest helped me get better grades. Eagle's Nest because you get help if you're having trouble, and I like how they have a bunch of activities that you can do, and it's really fun. I like Eagles because yoga, and because they help us work with math. We do everything in Eagle's Nest. We play Zumba, we do yoga, and we play game day.
I'm a college student at Kennedy College, and I like coming to the Eagle's Nest for many reasons, one of which I want to be a teacher, so I like learning from the great staff members at the Eagle's Nest and the students. I particularly like working with the kids with their homework and reading, and seeing how I can motivate them and how excited they can be to read and tell me about the story that they read. I also like the structured activities that's organized for them outside of the academics, such as like the yoga or Zumba, or learning about the environment. I think it's really nice that they can have that aspect also at their school. And seeing like the unification from their school day to the after school is also something that's really nice to observe and learn about.
My favorite activity was I like walking because we got to do different things. We also do math facts, homework, reading, STEM activities.
I think the structure of the Eagles Nest is impeccable.
For Carly and her staff on the Eagles Nest.
How long do you meet? Like, it's after school.
Right, so we meet after school until 5 o'clock. Yep, 4 days a week.
And I've forgotten, is this the second year of Eagles
First
Nest?
year.
First year. And are you keeping tabs on these children as they will go after they even leave Eagles Nest? Their growth pattern, you think? Will we be able to keep track of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got Map now, and so we can track them that way. We're also looking at reading levels and those kinds of things. So.
You like it, right?
Thank you so much.
Can I ask a question? How do you choose the children to participate?
We actually used the MAP scores, and so we looked at a certain percentage, and first of all, how many kids we thought that we could manage, and then those kids that we thought we could make the biggest impact on, with the extra time and the volunteers that we have.
So how many?
30 to 35 is what we have on a weekly basis.
In 2 groups, so they switch. So 45 minutes they're doing homework club, and 45 minutes they're doing program, and we have 2 groups of 15 that switch.
The teachers who are doing this are all volunteer and helping, and
Yeah, we've got Jenny Marilees helps out, and then Casey Mountain helps out on opposite days. So they aren't there for 4 days extra on top of teaching their regular class. And then we've got a load of volunteers that come in to help then with the tutoring section of it, and then also to help with all of the physical activity and enrichment.
thank you for that extra support. I saw the United Way at the end, so
Yes.
they're kind of a co-sponsor with you,
Yep,
right?
yep, they fund us.
And we have talked for many years about having some after-school programs, and you take an initiative in doing that, so we just applaud you for doing that.
It'd be nice to have this as a model so that we can.
I think that's Kelly Bruneman's vision. I really do. I think there are a lot of, it helps the kids, but I really feel like it helps the families a lot. There are families that are really overwhelmed with homework and those types of things. So it's to the whole family, not just to the child. So
If
I think she
numbers
envisions
weren't
it
an issue,
growing.
do you think you'd have many more?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bring them on.
Okay, is Will Brown? I haven't seen him. board items for discussion, so we're to report, but if there are people who need to leave, we don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Teachers are like, I've been here all day.
Like East School.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
We'd love to have you stay, but we don't intend to. And thank you again for coming.
Keep opening up a few more chairs there, guys. All right, under the superintendent's report, I have a number of items for information to share with the board. The first is some board policy reviews. A couple times a year, we will address policies that need to be revisited or looked at. And we usually take 2 board meetings before we approve those. So what I've done is I've listed those here, very much like we've done in the past. They're linked. Please take an opportunity over the next month to take a look at some of those revisions. Obviously, they'll be highlighted in red. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, and we'll do our best to answer those. At the May board meeting, we will approve these board policies and adopt them. Item number 2 is our Global Scholars Diploma. I put that in items for information. If you open up the Global Scholars link, you'll see basically a nice thing from the Columbus Council of World Affairs. We were in somewhat of a working stage this year. Next year is our first year to have a Global Scholars Diploma group, starting with our sophomore class. We're hopeful to have 25 students begin in that process, and then from that point every year thereafter, we'll continue to have students who multiple times a year, and if you've got a chance to take a look at that, you'll see the limits and you'll see what they do, the kinds of things they do. There's 3 basic field trips where they'll participate with schools throughout Central Ohio, from the Honda plant to several other really neat experiences, just to kind of give a global perspective. And if they complete 3 years, they'll get a special certification on their diploma, called a Global Scholars Diploma. So put that in there for your review. And I also put in a brochure for our Nwea Map. You heard Mrs. Watterson share a little bit about that. Grades 2 through 10, we continue to do this Northwest Education Association Map Professional growth targets, and really provides us some really valuable information about where our students are, where their deficiencies are, and the nice part is it's consistent. So grades 2 all the way up through 10, we're talking the same language. Our 5th graders going to 6th grade, it's a seamless kind of a thing, and we progress monitor it. So it's been a real positive thing there, and you'll see that in our board meeting as well. Item 4 is another piece of information. Our May board meeting location, we're going to move it. Not necessarily because of our great crowds, although that would be okay too. May is our recognition for retirees, and we have about 10 retirees. So by the time you have 10 retirees and their spouses or family members, you can see this room would quite frankly fill up quite a bit. We're still going to have the same date for the May meeting. We're going to go back to Twin Oak, where we got much more room, and we can have kind of our cake and some of those kinds of things to honor and recognize our retirees. So I'd like for you to consider that as we go down through the recommended items for board approval. Also, the June board meeting date, we tried to get this information out. Because of some conflicts on the 3rd Monday in June, we'd like to recommend perhaps the 2nd Monday in June. I know we got an affirmative from most, but want that for your consideration as well. And I do have 2 spots down here in the board approval section where we can decide if that's appropriate. And then finally, item number 5 is kind of an interesting one, and I've asked Justin Sanford to come and share this unique opportunity. Bowling as a school-sponsored extracurricular sport. It's really growing in large facets across the region, It is now recognized as an Ohio High School Athletic Association sport, and I asked Justin just to come and perhaps share just a little bit. So Justin, if you wouldn't mind sharing with the board, I can pull up your letter here, but I think probably hearing from you makes about as much sense as anything.
Obviously, as Mr. Cedar shared, it's a growing sport. It's one that's offered here in our current conference that we have. There are 4 schools that participate in bowling in the Ohio Cardinal Conference that we're a part of. We would be the 5th. It would be a part of the championships as well. Just from an informal polling with some students and those in Knox County Bowling Association, I feel like we have a significant interest in our student body, both at the high school and those that are part at the Career Center. Shelley Blubaugh, who is the president of the Knox County Bowling Association, her and I have discussed this on a number of occasions. She's been instrumental in starting some programs around Knox County. We have a great relationship, hopefully, a great relationship with Tim and Levi down at the bowling alley. They have offered us as kind of the opportune time for them. They don't open until 4:30, 5 o'clock, so a practice right after school at 3 o'clock would essentially have the lanes to ourselves, with the potential of the NAS bowling program that they're looking to start a program as well at Mount Vernon Nazarene. So to me, in starting the program at a previous district and see the growth of it, I mean, we were about 12 to 20 in our first year. They've grown to a full JV and varsity program for both boys and girls, and their girls just won the state team championship this past year. It's a growing program. We have great resources here in the community. And what I like about it, again, I've shared with you before in terms of the statistics and the GPA and the expectations that we put on student athletes of raising the level of GPA and academic standards for our student athletes. This pulls in a different group of not your atypical student athlete. This gives an opportunity for those kids that may not necessarily end up on the track or on the court or on the field. It gives them, just as East talked about, a sense of belonging, a sense of a team to be a part of. So it was very successful in previous district that I was in, and I see no reason why it wouldn't be equally, if not more, successful here in Mount Vernon.
Justin, if I'm correct, I think we had a little over 40 students show interest, and again, that was shared across the Career Center and the high school.
Yep.
Both kind of a mix of boys and girls, right? As far as coaches, we have some folks that have some interest in doing that.
The word got out through the Knox County Bowling Association that we may be bringing this to your attention. So yes, they have been, and again, Tim and Levi, and along with Shelley, and then just some informal communications with folks. There's certainly interest in those that want to be a part to lead it, whether it's in a full-time capacity or just volunteer in their time to be a part of it. So it would be very exciting.
How many matches does a typical team have in the course of a full schedule?
Well, they're permitted up to 24 matches. However, with our conference, we'll have a conference schedule, so we'll do dual matches with the Ashlands and Worcesters and whatnot. We'll have a conference championship tournament, so that equates for another point that you get there. And then there are a number of invitationals that you can go to around Central Ohio or Northern Ohio, wherever you choose to go. And then there's for those of you who are familiar with bowling, there's Bakers tournaments that you can go to where it's strictly a Bakers tournament. So if you're a Baker, if you know what that means, it's essentially like in golf, it's like alternate shots. So I bowl and then I hit all, I take down 9 pins, and then what's left is Mr. Cedar has to bowl back to pick up my mess. So that's a Baker's. So there's a number of different invitationals. We will certainly not fill all 24 points in the season, but we can, depending on availability and whatnot from coaches. But a number of Knox County schools that Knox County Bowling Association starting is conversation if we would get involved of bringing in the Knox County schools to have a Knox County tournament. So it's really exciting.
The cost associated with bringing on something like this?
In terms of, there's a facility rental, which we would have with Colonial City. Now, Tim and Levi and I have talked in regards to what that looks like. A lot will depend upon the number of practice days and home matches that we want to have. But we'll break it down, and again, in the previous district that I was a part of, we had a set fee, so it was, whether it was $100 for our pay to participate, $100 per student that was participating in bowling, but then they were unlimited in terms of the number of times that we wanted to practice and the number of home matches that we wanted to have. Currently, Highland, this is their home. This is their house here in Colonial City, so they do it by the hour. They practice 2 at a max 3 times per week, so they just bill them by the hour. Ours is still up in the air, 1 number of participants, coaches' availability to work there, and what their preference is in terms of the number. But that's something that and again, very, very receptive in working with us.
And that wouldn't be a student cost, that would be an athletic department.
It would, correct. It would fall under, just like all our other varsity sports, JV and freshman level sports would be, the pay to participate that we have for our students.
So would that fee include shoes and with every uniform?
No, that would be on them. Now, we would pick up the uniform cost, and typically it's again, we can do it a number of different ways, whether it's a uniform that we present to them and then collect at the end of the year, or if we wanted to put a fee in there so that they could keep the shirt. They're sweating in it, just keep it and go with it. But that's something those would be separate costs, shoes and ball, but they certainly have balls that they can utilize at the lanes as well.
And then travel also.
Travel would be us, our expense, yeah.
One of the things we talked about was typically associated with the bowling alley would be alcoholic beverages, and I know there's lots of schools that have it. How is that handled?
Well, so if we just take Colonial here, we would take up probably, again, depending on the match that we have, if it's just another school and us, or even in practices, we'll say we've got the furthest 8 lanes. And from there on, it's a high school contest. Parents will be informed of that, know that, fans do as well. And in Colonial City will help patrol that as well. That's a high school event that's going on down there. Now, it's going to be the Pirates Cove next door soon, or even, I think it's Legends that they have as their little pub in there. Can we stop a parent from going into Legends or to Pirates Cove to partaking in a beverage and then coming back and watch it? No, just like we can't stop them from doing that at Flappers and then coming to a basketball game. But in our venue where we're having a contest or a practice, there will be no alcohol.
So that'll be kind of like,
this is our
these 4 courts over, you can't walk into this area.
Yeah, and again, just from previous experience being in different lanes, it's like that in every lane, because right behind our practices or our matches will be their leagues, and those in this place gets filled up with bowlers down here. But those that come in and go to Legends and then go into their line, we can't take offense to them and can't tell them they can't do it, but the designation of where our teams are, the bowling community is a tight-knit community, and they understand that they can't do that in our venue.
Justin, how many county schools have it now?
Fredericktown, Centerburg, Highland's not in our county, but they have it. East Knox, I believe, just started it.
So we'd all compete for capacity down here then? Is that right?
No, Fredericktown uses
their
own lane up there. Highland, I think, is this is their only house, their home house down here. Yeah.
Okay.
Justin, what would a job description look like for coach? Is it any differently?
Not necessarily. We're looking for somebody that's obviously has experience in terms of in bowling. Okay. Yes, and it's. I guess I don't want to say that it's the same job description that we would have of a Nick Kuhn or of a Mike Kerr, but it's similar, and that is the expectations that we have on them in terms of dealing with kids, communication with kids, knowledge of the sport that they're coaching. Having previous experience as a coach is going to be hard to find in terms of a high school bowling coach. It's not out of the ordinary, but it would be difficult to find. I can tell you there are a number of folks that have expressed interest in being a part that are avid bowlers, competitive bowlers, or previously competitive bowlers, as obviously they're adults and one senior, retired gentleman that just wants to give back to the sport, grow the sport, but has that competitive, more so than I'm out there teaching bowling. Our expectations would be more so from the communication, leadership, development of students and student athletes, but also knowledge of the sport.
Any questions?
I have one more. So you probably do not have officials since the score is the score?
Correct. The score is the score is the score, and the coaches essentially manage the match as they go. Which is why, and again, I mean, what I proposed in the proposal was for a head coach and an assistant coach. If it comes back and we don't have the numbers of the interest to warrant an assistant coach, then we could look at volunteers and so on. But I think the numbers are going to warrant where at a minimum a head coach and an assistant coach, and then maybe coming back in a couple years going, can we have a head boys and a head girls assistant head coach and assistant coach. But that's the benefit of having those coaches there, because girls are bowling. You'll have a varsity and a JV lanes going, a varsity and JV boys lanes going, and communicating and overseeing those four would be helpful.
Any other questions? I know that bowling will be treated just like any other sport. They'll have that fee that all the other sports have. They have the academic expectations that the others have.
The code of conduct.
Code of conduct that all the others have. I did ask Justin, I've never been to a high school bowling match, and he said it's crazy because there's so many people come to watch, and I chuckled because he said you rent or buy these periscopes. And so you might be in the back, and you've got this big, and you're sitting there watching the match out of the periscope.
They have the state championships down in Wayne Webb, down on the south end of Columbus, and bowling will start about 9 o'clock. They have 42 lanes, all of them are full. They bring in bleachers behind and stand and sit in bleachers behind. If you are not there by 7:30 in the morning, then you, essentially what I did, you rent a periscope, and they have them for rent because they know. And you can stand in the back and you look through your little periscope up and over top. It is the loudest, one of the loudest state championship venues that you'll ever go to, because you can imagine low ceilings, all packed, teams cheering at different times, parents and so on. It's crazy. It's pretty exciting.
So what do you guys think?
Samantha, you had a question.
I'm not good.
What season?
It's a winter sport, so through the winter. You're playing master.
Any other questions? I think we can promote opportunities for lifelong sports, and bowling would be one of those that you can participate, as old as you want. And this would also fit inside those parameters. It's an extracurricular sport. So we wanted to present that to you today. I don't have it down here in the recommended items for board approval. If you're feeling comfortable moving forward, probably the sooner we can let Justin know, the better, because we've got schedules to fill, coaches, and those kinds of things. That would certainly be helpful. So those are the 5 items for your information. A lot of items there. I know you've gotten a chance to look at most of those. We'll go ahead and move on down into Superintendent Section B. I have...
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. I have 4 items, and I wrote down one just in case you were ready for this. We can certainly, we'll make some additions down in this section. But Global Scholars Diploma, that's a commitment agreement there. The renewal of our NWEA map, the approval of the Mount Vernon High School and middle school fees. And then on item number 4, the May board meeting location will be at Twin Oak, if you're all okay with that. A little bigger venue for our retirement piece. And we'll make sure that we notify folks in plenty of advance, and that we go to the lower parking lot. That way it's real easy to enter from there. And I left the June date for the June board meeting. Are we okay with June 11th if we put that in there? I think that was one that we had shared initially, and we got a general approval, but I don't know if we had everybody. We okay? It sounds like we're okay. So if we could put in Twin Oak there, and then put in June 11th. Would the board like to think about bowling as a school sponsor sport, or would you like to act on that tonight? That's up to the board.
I think we had our questions answered.
Well,
unless
I
there are
would,
additional-
I would only have one other, and that's the structure of the coaching schedule in terms of how it aligns on the pay scale. Based
Justin.
on,
Yeah.
just the alignment of like the coaching pay scale in terms of responsibilities, I mean, because I couldn't see it coming in as the same as a head varsity coach with like our varsity sports that we currently have that practice pretty much year round. I mean, are you thinking the same as with bowling
Yeah.
or?
The
that
recommendation
align?
I put on there was for a group 3 for the head
Okay.
varsity coach.
Okay.
It's the next group down, obviously,
Yes.
from our
Right.
traditional.
Okay.
It's essentially, I don't want to say a step down because that
No.
sounds bad, but
No.
the next step,
Thank you.
next group
And then the assistant's 2 steps
is
behind that.
correct.
Okay. What's your comfort level? Is that okay?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
We can complete that.
I mean, it's pending numbers. Yeah.
So those 5 items for board approval?
Okay, I would entertain a motion then to approve those 5 items as just discussed.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Gasson. Thank you, Mrs. Fiesel, second. And are there additional questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Reboledi?
Yes.
Dr. Beck?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, success. On the success, I thought we would skip the first 3. The first one is about phonics versus a whole language approach and Upper Arlington City Schools and their situation. We have gone to phonics, so that's not an issue in our district. And the second one deals more with the Career Center type of issue. The third, we talked about moving in class and using some kind of bicycle desks or something like that before. So the fourth item is the California schools roll out big data classes, and I thought this was pretty interesting because this is one of the hottest careers is dealing with big data. And there are, it's also the hottest math class at a number of California schools, and there are 30 schools that participate in this program and offer data science, and it's actually the study of computer-generated big data. And they offer this for math credit. It takes the place of Algebra 2, the way they've structured it. And students use computers to analyze large sets of data, and that's a skill that's increasingly used in the workforce. And it's a blend of statistics and computer science, and they used a grant from the National Science Foundation to develop this program and to create the high school data student course. And it's used about in 30 schools, as I mentioned, and students collect their own data. So they might do a survey, or if they already have data available, you can go online and all kinds of huge data sets available, mainly from the government or teen studies, et cetera. And then you can write a computer program to analyze the information. And I found this something that students are really loving, and it's been a great success. So just to keep up to date on what's going on.
The other thing I would add is data scientists on graduation starting salaries are around $100,000 a year. So that's a nice place to start. Thanks for
Sounds good. The second item is the social media can harm girls' confidence, and that's a pretty interesting article. You want to click on that. They have a video at the beginning, but it talks about how social media and technology are contributing to self-doubt, isolation, and vulnerability of female students. And they did a survey of 10,000 5th to 12th grade students, and it was conducted by a nonprofit organization called Ruling Our Experiences. And the report found that 46% of girls entering high school say they don't believe they're smart enough for their dream careers. And in addition to that, 30% of girls that had over a 4-point average, GPA average, said that they didn't think they were smart enough for their dream jobs, which doesn't make a lot of sense if they're doing so well in school. And they said that girls' confidence declined sharply from 5th through 12th grade. In middle school, girls describe themselves as not, well, we talked about it, as not smart enough. The survey results were 10,678 girls surveyed. Of those girls, 31% were bullied online. 61% of the parents they found do not monitor their students' social media contacts. And 85% of the students had received friend requests from strangers. So that's pretty interesting data and kind of scary. The girls spent most of their time on social media. They were 5 times more likely to say that they were sad or depressed. So interacting in social media, parents need to take a look at that. I don't know if you want to play that or if you're spending much time.
At Rocks, we wanted to gain a deeper understanding of the challenges girls face every day. Not just in one region, one community, or one type of school, but everywhere. That's why we developed the Girls Index, the first ever largest of its kind national survey designed to provide new insights into the complex world of today's girls. We surveyed over 10,000 girls from across the country and asked them about the issues impacting their lives. Here's what we learned. Confidence declines sharply from 5th to 9th grade and doesn't return to pre-middle school levels. By the time girls get to high school, 46% don't believe they're smart enough for their dream career. 1 in 3 stay away from leadership positions because they don't want to appear bossy. And 1 in 2 don't speak their mind or disagree with others because they want to be liked. Even among the highest achieving girls, confidence is an issue. 30% with a 4.0 grade point average don't think they're smart enough for their dream job. The Girls Index showed us that we are not dealing with a lack of confidence, rather a crisis of confidence. This research has also helped us understand the role of technology and social media in girls' relationships, aspirations, and well-being. We learned that most high school girls spend 6 hours each day using social media, and those who spend the most time online are 5 times more likely to say they are sad or depressed nearly every day. Girls who spend the most time engaged with technology and social media are less likely to have supportive friendships, participate in extracurricular activities, trust other girls, and enjoy coming to school. But by building confident girls who have effective friendships, we can combat many of these challenges. Over and over, as we asked girls what they needed to be successful, their #1 response was confidence. Because confident girls are more likely to share their opinions. Confident girls put trust in themselves and each other. Confident girls grow up to be the brave leaders of tomorrow. Together, we can turn this crisis of confidence into the opportunity of a generation. To learn more about the groundbreaking research in the Girls Index and about Rocks, go to www.rulingourexperiences.org.
Research brief is about school mental health services, and mainly it's what you would expect. They discovered that if daily or several times a week, that showed a medium impact, and if it was only less than that, then it was a very small impact on treating students. So it can be powerful if it's consistent. We can go ahead then to the curriculum items.
Very good. I have 4 items for board approval tonight. These are generally overnight or extended student trips. The softball team here at the end of the month will be taking a trip up to Cleveland, to Grange Park, to participate in some softball events. There's an overnight trip for the football camp at Kenyon this summer on July 19th. We're also getting a year out, a wonderful trip. The Marine science students. They do that, I think, every other year, and it's always wonderful to hear what our students are doing down there. And then, of course, 8th graders are continuing to take their class trips to Washington, D.C. This year's group is getting ready to go here in another couple weeks. This is just a year ahead, so we're at 2019, believe it or not, on the approval tonight. So those 4 items for your approval.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve those 4 items. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Were there any questions? Okay, would you call the motion?
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Revoladi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes, motion carried. And financial report.
This evening, I have just the one financial report, and a little bit of a technical glitch with the cash flow report, so I'll be bringing that back again next month. But the regular financial report, you can see our balance at the end of March was $14,444,000. That's a really nice, healthy balance. Keep in mind, we did just collect our second half taxes, second half of the fiscal year taxes. And so that's partially why we won't get tax money again until July when the taxes are paid. The next page. This is the report that shows the amount that we've collected and spent in comparison with the amount that we anticipated. Again, the taxes, if you look at line 101 and 102, those are the general property taxes and the tangible personal property taxes. We collected a little bit more on each of those than we had anticipated. The other items are in line where they should be. The unrestricted grants and aid is the state foundation payment. And the restricted grants and aid is the economic disadvantage payment that also comes from the state. The property tax allocation is 95% in. The only amount we haven't gotten from that yet is the cat tax that we'll collect in May. Sometimes we'll get that in May. So that should take us up to 100% on that. Down in the expenditures, we're right where we ought to be on the salaries. On the benefits, we're a little high, but keep in mind that we don't make a payment on the insurance in June. So we've actually made 10 payments already for 2018 fiscal year. So that's that report. And then the next report is the investment report. We did invest some money with another facility this month. We haven't gotten, that was just in the middle of the month of March, so we haven't gotten those amounts in yet. But even so, we have collected in interest for this fiscal year $75,000. And again, if you look back in prior years, it's a good thing.
Government students, what happened in 2012, 2013?
I was a little kid.
I don't know.
That was where the markets hit at rock bottom, so we were not making any money off of interest earnings. So.
And the district had a little less money than
Yeah.
because unfortunately we were able to get our levy increased and started to collect some more money at the end. So however much money we have, and then the interest rates help. So that's why we're doing a little bit better on that. And then we have 3 donations to approve. One is to the elementary libraries from Rebecca Thyssen. The item is Here's Hank, A Robot on the Loose by Henry Winkler. 1 book for each elementary library. To the athletic department from Sam and Melissa Schumann, a fence for the freshmen. This was baseball. That was baseball. And then to central office from Ariel Corporation, the chairs that most of you were sitting on. Those nice red chairs came to us from the Ariel Corporation as a donation, so I want to thank them for that.
I can't resist. How many of the students know who Henry Winkler is? Students? No students?
That's so sad.
The adults know.
He was with Hans on Happy Days.
Great job.
Email Caldwell, he gets extra points.
Get that guy on Jeopardy.
So that's all I have for the financial report.
Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve those items as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Lillard. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Yes, were there any questions?
roll die.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Gleason?
Yes.
And Dr. Beck?
Yes, motion carried. Legislative liaison.
Thank you. I will briefly outline the laws that are and proposals and bills that are before the House, and some of them were sent to the Senate. HB 778 appropriates $100 million for the Ohio Broadband Development Grant Program. 360 prescribes policies for suspension or expulsions over incidents of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. 508 establishes the Ohio Core Pilot Project for at-risk students to participate in mentorship programs. 318 describes qualifications and training requirements for SROs, plus $10 million for grants to public and private schools for safety programs and training. And then in the Senate, SB 82 requires public schools within 2 hours of the start of the school day to notify a parent of a student who fails to arrive at school when they are unexcused. And then in the committees, HB 591 revises the state report cards. 540 revises the statewide teacher evaluation framework. 549 requires public and private schools to open after Labor Day. 524 extends Ohio's tax deduction to contributions made to any 599 plan established by another state. 110 allows a certified apprenticeship program to qualify within the College Credit Plus program, which I thought was rather interesting. 559 requires healthcare providers to use a state-developed child immunization documentation form. 87 requires funds that are returned to the state because of a community enrollment audit to be certified, credited, back to the certain public school districts. 438 deals with the composition and annexation of ESCs. And finally, 21 is the verification of community school enrollment. On HB 512, I haven't got any new updates, perhaps some of you have. I have a letter that I am composing to Representative Carfagna regarding 512. And I would encourage anyone else to do the same. I know that you did, Martin, so thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
I would say that I met with Representative Carfagna as well last Friday, and it was really appreciated his willingness to come down to Knox County and have conversations with us. 512 seems to be losing its impetus, and quite frankly, the House only has 2 more meetings before summer break, and so the chance to really get any of these bills moving, if it's not out of one of the chambers at this point, the chances of it reaching a full vote is pretty minimal, and then we're in a lame duck session when it comes in the fall. So I don't know if you're going to find too many of these getting themselves out, but when you start to look at a few of these,
Very restricted.
yeah, I mean, like the instance, within 2 hours, every parent has to be called. I mean, we certainly try that. When you've got bigger buildings, it's a challenge, and you're going to find folks having to purchase or to hire additional folks to make those, or buy robocalls. We do, but I would say there are times where they're making their final calls at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just because there's enough that are out, and when you can't get a hold of somebody, you call a secondary number. So there's lots of interesting little challenges here, and a lot of.
And starting after Labor Day.
Yes.
Yeah,
That should be a local decision.
Yeah, I think it's a
The thing about it is that some of these raise their ugly head again. Even when they die out, someone brings it back the next time around. So we have to really be careful of that. HB 512, which could come back as a different number in the future.
Aside from this 512, Representative Carfagna, you said you've had a chance to talk with him. In what format, what forum does he interact? Does he meet with the local superintendents?
Actually, we invite him every month to our local area superintendent's meetings, and I think he enjoys coming. He's been coming back on a regular basis. Realize he covers Delaware and Knox County, so completely two different kinds of areas.
Right.
And so I think he enjoys that perspective that Knox County brings, that maybe Olentangy and Delaware and some of those schools bring to his discussions.
I had a chance to meet him, I think a week ago or so at a non-political event, and it just caused me to wonder whether it's he himself and the Republican, or whether it's a Democrat, or the fact that is willing to reach out and have conversations seemed very refreshing, to the point where it sometimes makes me wonder why we don't find ourselves able to have a little closer conversation with him as a board, with him. You know, we're looking at all this. Mary does a great job of representing what's going on, but it sure would be nice to have the opportunity to question some of these things to those people that we vote for to represent us, right? He seems like a willing person to do that.
I think he is. I don't know if he came to your all's class. On Friday, he came and met with Jeff Godke, and I think some of his government students, maybe it was AP. But he's willing to do those kinds of things, and I think the first time he came, it was almost like I've got to meet the Knox County, like an obligation thing. And then when he saw we weren't, out there to, to try to hammer home our views and yet wanted to kind of work with him, I just think he's felt comfortable coming back.
Yeah, I learned that he was a trustee previous to this, so he's at another type of a government, and again, seriously, just being able to take political pieces out of it, which I know is difficult, just struck me as somebody that had a level of common sense and an openness, irregardless of however this HB 512, which I did not get into a conversation with him. I didn't want to ruin the evening. But nevertheless, I just sensed that there was something there more that we could glean from a person like him.
I really think that he has the invitation. I'm in a monthly organization, and he comes every month to Mount Vernon. Kind of a side note, I had the occasion Saturday evening to meet his mother and cousin, and so his mother shared. He definitely cares about the areas he serves and those he lives in. So, I think it's a small world, and we're lucky to have him.
Well, his wife is an educator, so she can keep you kind of on the educational path.
Well, it's nice, he lives this side of Westerville, so he's, pretty close to us. Yeah. He's serving us and resigning.
Well, so much so that, whether you realize this or not, he's a co-sponsor of 512. And it made a lot of sense from the outset, consolidate, some of that makes a lot of sense, but I think once he began to hear a little bit of the concerns, then all of a sudden it just kind of reshapes your thinking a little bit. Not that he still doesn't believe, of course, in the workforce development piece, which I agree with, quite frankly. Right. There are pieces and parts that make sense, but maybe the way in which they're doing it could be refined, and we would all agree together.
And I just wonder who would be the person that could manage those three entities: higher education, all of our school, K-12.
The needs are all different.
And then the workforce development, it would be a huge responsibility.
But I do agree that if he was in a more direct conversation like this with us, he probably would get a better feel for how to represent us, right? And not to say that he would go off in agreement, but I do appreciate his emphasis on career, technical education, and so on and so forth. So I would not want to squelch his enthusiasm at all, right? But I think that we both win on this.
We should. He's up for election, but this is a gerrymandered district, so he'll be our representative for some time to come. Do you know what gerrymandering is? You'll have to look that one up. That's your homework for tonight. That's a government word. You'll have to look up and ask
Did you
your.
spell it for them?
It does start with a G.
Yeah, it's when you read just the borders around a certain district, so that certain political parties.
It's more or less reading the Waxia.
Thank you. All right, we have a number of items under this section for board approval. Pre-facility requests, the KCC JROTC using Mount Vernon High School's track in the fall, the United Way of Knox County using the stadium in June. MVBA baseball will be using the Dan M. Elementary for picture day this coming Saturday, and Dusty Boots. It's a 4-H club that actually was using our boardroom last night. Ironically, they did have Dusty Boots because I swept it up this morning. So those 4 items for your approval.
I would entertain a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Rhoda. I got a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Lisa. Were there any questions?
I just think it's great that the different organizations are using facilities, even if there happens to be dust. We can.
And thank you, Ms. Rubula. I agree. You may call the roll.
Mrs. Regola-Dye?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes, motion carried. Understand nothing for students who have nothing.
All right, we're down to our final 2 sections of the board meeting tonight. Under personnel for certificated and licensed staff, no items for information. We have a number of items for board approval tonight. We have the retirement of Holly Trask as a gifted intervention specialist at both Columbia and Twin Oaks. Resignation of John Fry as the head wrestling coach at Mount Vernon High School. Christine Gray is an intervention specialist at Mount Vernon High School, focusing really at the digital academy. She's going to be working abroad. And Emily Lyons, a social studies teacher at Mount Vernon High School, effective on the 22nd. Under employment, we have substitute teachers, we have supplementals, summer school teachers. That'll be contingent upon enrollment, and so I know they're doing some of those enrollment configurations as we speak. And these are a list of those teachers who have expressed interest in that. And again, depending on enrollment, we would approve those. We also have some extracurricular as an assistant volleyball coach. So we have those items for your approval.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those personnel items as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilkite. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Were there any questions?
I understand on the summer school teachers, it's contingent on enrollment. How do we choose which teachers?
You know what, that was a great question from my colleague in the back of the room. So how do we choose who is up if the numbers don't require all of it?
Some of it depends on interest of who applies teacher-wise that's interested in doing that. So like if you have computer apps, you know, if, Mr. Wiles or thank you, you are interested. But if they're not, then there's other people that have it. Like Ms. Bishop's done it before. She has a master's in technology and is able to teach it and give it for credit. So depending on who's of interest, but then it kind of goes into sometimes a seniority piece of, first, through the dibs and kind of go through that way. Same thing with health. PE, is another one that, depending on numbers and who's been done it for the longest time, who has availability, who wants to take a leadership role. So there's just a lot of vetting out as to what fits in people's calendars, things like that.
There's a plan.
Yes, there's a plan in place.
Other questions? Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Regola-Dye?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, classified staff.
Okay, under classified staff, we have no items for information. We have a number of items for board approval. We have the retirement of Beverly Smalls, cook at Twin Oaks, effective May 31st. We have some substitute employment, custodians and aides. We do have our summer food service workers listed there. Again, substitute drivers, substitute cooks, summer work crew, those items for your board approval.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
Yes, and do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkite. Were there any questions? Nice to see a substitute bus driver.
Yeah.
Well, okay, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Getzmann? Yes. Mrs. Revoladi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes, motion carried. And we do need to go into executive session for the purpose of employment, contract, and evaluation, and Mr. Shuffenhoff. So I would entertain a motion then to approve going into executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Getzmann. Fiesel, and before we do, I'd like to thank you all again for, before we vote, go into executive session. I'd like to thank you for staying, and hope you have the rest of the evening is a good one. Thank you.
Should we take a picture of all those who stayed to the
Yes.
very end? Let's do that. Let's